You're live from the broadcasting house here in the county of Nairobi. This is the great KBC, just in time for lunchtime. Njue, thanks indeed for joining us. We have a detailed and comprehensive bulletin lined up here for you, including on the business segment. We are looking at futuristic homes and the security that comes with it. I'll be engaging Irene Opondo from SGA Security a little bit later on. But before then, let's take a look at what has been shaping up the news conversation in the country and beyond. My name is Bentro Njue. Caro Njoroge is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Now, People's Party of Kenya leader Ndindi Nyoro has called on the government to urgently address the rising cases of insecurity linked to organized gangs across the country. Speaking at a political rally in Kiriaini, Madioya constituency, Nyoro said the state has a fundamental duty to protect its citizens, warning that this responsibility is currently not being adequately fulfilled.
After unveiling his new political outlook, Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has continued, this time hitting the ground at Madioya constituency. While here, he called on the government to enhance efforts aimed at weeding who have continued to disrupt peace during political gatherings.
Hataki mambo ya violence katika mikutano ya kisiasa. Na sisi kama watu wa kuonyesha Kenya mzima that we are tolerant. Tunapea kila person an opportunity, anakuja anaongea na watu bila furugu.
He at the same time called on leaders to accord respect to retired president.
Siku kwa mikutano wanasema uhuru this, uhuru that. Nataka niwaeleze nikiwa hapa Kiriaini. Hiyo mambo ya kutukana Uhuru Kenyatta katika mikutano ya kisiasa, I want to announce leo.
In Garissa County, the Oliahan community has unanimously endorsed Garissa Senator Abdul Kadir Mohamed Yusuf Haji as its sole candidate in the gubernatorial race. The endorsement brings to a close month-long consultations between the Oliahan and Samawadal communities, popularly known as the Talasame Alliance.
Tunasema kwa sababu tunajua Abdul hawezi chukua pesa ya county, tunajua atasaidia maskini.
We will have a new dawn now. So we're going to hit the ground and we'll consolidate the votes.
Hatutaki siasa ya kudanganyana. Hatutaki siasa ya kudhulumu mtu. Hatutaki siasa ambayo maendeleo ya jamii moja peke yake ndo inafanyika.
Elsewhere, Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya Secretary General Bishop David Thagana has called on the government to empower more youth economically to prevent them from being exploited by politicians to engage in violence.
Lack of job opportunity is causing a lot of harm to our country. We are seeing what is happening when the young people are being used by the politicians.
As much as the government has a responsibility to create jobs, it is important that young people learn to be creative and use that digital economy to be self-employed.
This comes as a section of Migori residents has called for a review of the requirements for obtaining national identification cards to avoid locking out potential first-time voters. The residents say stringent documentation requirements are particularly affecting women who got married before acquiring identification documents.
Lakini nimefika katika mahali penye natakana nipatiwe fomu niende nijaze, wameniambia niende nikalete mzazi, na mimi wazazi wangu walikufa. Sasa nimesimamiwa na dada ya mamangu wa kando, amenisimamia na ako mbali.
We would request the government to ease the obstacles for our members to get these documents easily, because we realize that some of our people are still in the village because they don't have facilitation to come here at the chief's camp to take the documents.
Some are total orphans. Where they are coming from, they are instructed to bring any related persons, that is blood-related persons, to sign for them. It's a great challenge. So we wish if those things are withdrawn.
Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
Now, trade unions are expressing fears over the declining number of workers in the wake of rapid adoption of artificial intelligence, AI, and other technologies in the workplace. The Central Organization of Trade Unions says the trend is particularly evident in factories and other facilities where AI has been fully implemented, raising concerns over potential job losses. Speaking during a high-level trade union workshop on artificial intelligence governance in Nairobi, KOTU Assistant Secretary General for Administration Adams Barasa dismissed claims that trade unions are opposed to the adoption of AI in workplaces. Barasa said the unions are calling for a worker-centered AI policy that safeguards jobs while allowing employers to benefit from technological advancements. The unions are also calling for workers to be equipped with the necessary skills to complement and work alongside AI rather than compete against the technology. They further want trade unions and workers to be included in discussions on the proposed Artificial Intelligence Bill 2026.
We are not opposed to the AI because I've heard some utterances outside there saying that trade unions are opposed to the AI. Brothers and sisters, as KOTU K, we are deeply concerned about the preparedness of trade unions themselves for the speed of technological change that's taking place. Artificial intelligence is no longer something that belongs to the future, but a present pressing reality that's already in our workplaces.
The International Labour Organization has consistently emphasized that social dialogue and tripartism are essential governance mechanisms during periods of profound technological change. Governments, employers, and workers must all have a seat at the table. Workers and their organizations cannot be treated as afterthoughts.
AI is seen as a monster in that it has come to take or to replace jobs for people who are actually relying on them for their survival.
In other news, the Kenyan Secretariat of the New Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD, is currently undertaking a peer review exercise in Kisumu County as part of a strategy adopted by the African continent to strengthen governance at the sub-national level. Part of the review includes roping in the Secretariat to voice their concerns on governance by their respective governments in a move aimed at promoting participatory governance. The team is led by NEPAD Kenya Secretariat Chair Sospita Ojamong and the Principal Secretary for Economic Planning, Dr. Boniface Makoha. For more details, let's now join my colleague Wycliffe Okech live from Kisumu to bring us more in regards to this participatory governance. Wycliffe?
Well, thank you so much, Troy. Back in Nairobi, you've mentioned it right. This is a task force that is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that every voice counts in terms of governance, both at the county level and at the national level. Earlier on, we had the leadership of the task force, like you mentioned, the chairperson of that particular task force, that is the former Busia Governor, Sospito Jamong, and also the PS in charge of the economic planning here in the country, that is Dr. Makoha. Earlier on, they paid a courtesy call to the governor of Kisumu County, that is Professor Nyang'nyong'o, just to peer or rather get his opinion regarding the issue of participatory leadership or rather governance. Inclusivity. When we talk of inclusivity, it means taking into account every voice, both the leaders and even the wananchi or rather the electorate, if you want. So right now, I have members of that, or rather the panelists of that task force, and I'm going to engage very briefly the lead panelist for Kisumu County, that is Ambassador Rukia Subo, just briefly to explain to us the intention of this particular engagement and what it tends to achieve in the long run. Ambassador, talk to our viewers this particular moment. Why the specific and this particular mechanism? What does it entail, briefly?
The whole on governance issue in the county levels. It's not the first one in Kisumu. We have been doing all over the country. It's a voluntary exercise, and it's the governor's liking that he invited us to come and review his county. It's very important. Today We are in Kisumu, the other panelists are in Migori, Meru, and other parts of the country. This is invitation by the Governor, Professor Nyong'o, so that it can be reviewed.
This review, what does it mean for governance at the county level?
These are 14 thematic. We are basically looking at it, the development in those areas, the education, the health, and forestry, conservation, and many other, and also some cross-cutting issues which are not in thematic areas, but very important for the wananchi. The report that we are looking at is not made by APRM or the NEPAD office, but it is coming from wananchi themselves after being interviewed, that where do they want improvement, and they were. So the rating of the governor so far is 50%. That's a good average. So we are looking at issues like health, which has done very well in county government of Kisumu, but we also see lower rating, 31%, 33% on drugs and other issues like pornography. We need to improve on those. What is happening? Why is it very low to the governor? So that if he gets the report, he knows where he will put more effort in raising those rates. Yeah.
There's always been an advocacy for inclusion or rather participatory governance. Is this being rolled out here? Do you see it as a response to that appeal?
It can be, but you know why our Constitution of Kenya came up with to have services around the services to the level of the people on the wards and other areas. So that is what and also divisions, sub-districts are giving us, that we have done this very well here, but here we don't because of budgeting. Priority was not on other areas, but the priority of the governor is different than wananchi. But wananchi have a say to service is not reaching us, and that is very important.
And in the counties, you'll this conversation, how many counties have been rated, and what is the overruling message that the wananchi are saying?
This is the 30th, I think, 30th county we are reviewing already. Some, you know, it's a voluntary, as I told you. They have to invite us to look at themselves. Kuja uniangalie. So the others maybe they are fearful. They don't have it. So that is the issue, what is happening. But the 30 county government has done very well, and where they have gaps, they try to improve. At the end of the review, we are meeting in October, a bigger conference where the counties will review themselves. They will learn from each other. The governors will learn from each other. That is what we did. This is the third time we are doing it. Okay. Yeah.
The population we're seeing in here for this mechanism, who are they?
These are from Kisumu West and two sub-counties. This afternoon we'll also have another 2. Tomorrow we are going out of the city.
County bosses, the governors, in terms of including rather the electorate in a longer perspective, actually, to include, to embrace participatory leadership and governance.
So wananchi who elect them, and they should hear from wananchi what his rate is. That is very important. I want to also raise an issue of where those who have not, there are 47 counties. So far we had 30. The remaining 17 should come up and say, please rate me also, or review me. Let us hear what wananchi are thinking about me. If it is second time, maybe he will feel he's leaving. But the others who are at one term, which means they still need to be a governor, so let them not fear. This is not auditing, this is not putting them down, but we want to tell them wananchi are talking this way. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. is Rukia Subo, one of the lead panelists for this mechanism. Remember, this is a peer review sort of exercise that entails, or rather seeks to strengthen governance. By doing so, they entail, or rather encompasses and includes the voice of the electorate, the real person who receives the service that is delivered by the county government, even at the national level, who actually, we call them the right holders. How are they satisfied with the manner in which their governments are delivering services to them? So, like we heard it from the Ambassador Rukia Subo, that is what is happening in Kisumu, and not just in Kisumu. She mentioned this is the 30th county, and much more details regarding this exercise. Tune into KBC Channel 1 in our subsequent bulletins for more details. Right now, we want to take a very short break. When we come back, Lunchtime Bulletin continues in Nairobi with my colleague Njue. Let us take that commercial break.
Listen up. Colgate is on a mission. It's kind of a big thing. Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs. Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
Colgate Charcoal Gentle Clean cleans and polishes teeth for a whiter smile and a naturally fresh and clean mouth. Choose natural. Choose Colgate Charcoal.
Welcome back, and many thanks to Wycliffe there for giving us that in regards to the voice of the electorate. Quite a charged year, and we are hoping that our politics will also go hand in hand with matters governance and the voice of the people. But away from that to the El Nino rains that we are expecting a little bit later on this year, is that the National Disaster Operations Center, NDOC, now says an estimated 1.5 million people could be affected by flooding and about 500,000 displaced as a result of the above normal rainfall expected in the country between October and December this year. Speaking during the opening ceremony of the 13th National Climate Outlook Forum in Nairobi, NDOC Director Colonel Retired David Samoei cautioned that Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Tana River, the Coast Region, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo, Narok, Murang'a, Kiambu, Kisumu and Busia could be affected by flooding and mudslide. This follows an announcement by the Kenya Meteorological Service Authority that there is more than an 80% chance of heavy rainfall during the season. The authority, however, noted that the El Nino does not automatically mean heavy rainfall everywhere.
The probability of having a strong El Nino are above 80%. Actually, some forecasting centers place it at 90% as very, very strong, and 99% that it will be there.
And so far, we are dealing with a figure of 1.5 million who will be affected, and 500,000 who are likely to be displaced. About 3 counties will be affected by landslides. That's Murang'a, Elgeyo Marakwet, and also Kiambu.
We have to leave the famous no stone unturned, in the sense of giving advice on the implication of weather to these various sectors.
Now, panic has gripped the Church of Christ followers ministries in Mukuru, Kwanjenga, and Embakasi after more than 30 masked men armed with crude weapons reportedly descended on the church property in the wee hours of the morning. According to eyewitnesses, the attackers arrived at around 1 a.m. and went on a rampage, damaging several windows and forcing their way through the main gate. The attackers almost accessed the main church but fled after the caretaker and the family raised alarm. Hannah Nganga, a widow, claims a private developer is eyeing the property they have occupied since 2003. The church management is now calling on police to investigate the incident and arrest those behind the attack and resolve the land ownership dispute once and for all.
Nikaweza kwenda na nikaweza kuripoti na niko na ubi na kile tu ningeweza kuomba, kwa sababu nakuta vijana ndio wanatumika. Utatumika upewe 1,000 ama 2,000, utakula siku moja ama siku 2, na umekuja umeharibu kanisa la Mungu. Na Mungu yeye huwa anaona hata yale yanayotendeka kwa giza.
Utumishi kwa wote, vile huwa wanasema ni utumishi kwa wote. Wacha ikuwe ni utumishi kwa wote. Isiwe ni wale kuna wale wanaegemea pande ya wengine. Hapana. Wacha tusikizwe, hata sisi tupatiwe haki, kwa sababu haki inafaa ipatiwe kila mmoja.
More than 400 young Maasai men, popularly known as the Morans, in Kajiado Central have undergone a traditional rite of passage, marking their transition from youth to another stage of adulthood. The ceremony brought together families, elders, and religious leaders, with the traditional rite now incorporating Christian prayers. Take a look.
Traditionally known among the Maasai as the completion of a young man's period of youth. Traditionally, the rite involved traditional practitioners through rituals and customary practices, but the ceremony is a new approach of incorporating the ceremony with formal Christian prayers. Speaking during the ceremony, Mark Malitei in Kajiado Central marked an important milestone in the lives of the young men as they adapt traditional practices to changing times.
Watoto hawa wanafundishwa hatari ya kutumia mihadarati ama madawa. Kwa hivyo wachungaji hao wamechukua muda na leo wakaleta watoto hawa, wakaleta professionals wakuja waongelesha watoto maisha yao ya kesho ya baadaye. Jambo lingine, tunashukuru serikali kwa sababu ya kuungana na sisi. Hii jambo yameletwa pia na vile rais wetu amefanya kutuletea village elders. Pia wameungana kwa sababu wengi wa wachungaji hawa ni village elders na wameshikana mikono, wamekuja na furaha hiyo.
Lakini sasa hivi ukiona hao vijana ni vijana ambao wamesoma, ambao tunahitaji kulete katika karne hii vitu ambayo kwa hivyo tuna abstain vitu zingine ambayo haifai kwa mila na tulete ile ambayo inafaa kwa mila.
Sisi tumejikusanya kama watu wa eneo moja ili tukapate kuleta nchi pamoja, tukapate kuleta watu pamoja.
The young men known as Ilgemoliki age set were prayed for and blessed by their fathers from the Imirishi age set. The ceremony brought together families, elders, religious leaders, and community members from different parts of Ilpamatimaro. The gathering also provided an opportunity to honor and congratulate while offering them spiritual guidance. Transition from youth into another stage. Michael Mondiga.
Kenyans have been urged to embrace a culture of peace as a foundation for national cohesion and economic development ahead of the 2027 general election. This was a clarion call by the Nairobi Archdiocese Men's Coordinator Joshua Njoroge Waweru during a meeting of the Catholic Men Association in Nairobi. His call comes amid growing concerns over political violence, goonism, corruption, and alleged abductions. He was speaking during a men's empowerment meeting where more than 1,000 members of the Catholic Men's Association, drawn from 4 deaneries within the Archdiocese of Nairobi, came together for this year's Zone C Music Festival, where they used music and evangelization to promote peace and unity.
Wakati huu ambapo kuna haya matatizo mengi ya goonism, kwa hivyo tunatumaini kwamba sauti imesikika.
Tutajaribu kuweka amani kwa wakati huu, kabla, wakati wa elections na baada ya election.
Watu na wananchi wanajumuiya wanaweza kuwa pamoja bila mapigano na bila silaha, na wanaweza kujumuika pamoja na waendelee kama jumuiya moja.
We are taking the big lead of saying that we can have peace without violence, we can have amani bila silaha.
To one of our top stories, where President William Ruto says he tried reaching out to former President Uhuru Kenyatta to seek his support for a new national vision for Kenya, but he declined. Speaking in an interview in Nairobi, Ruto said he personally sought out his predecessors' backing based on the desire to have senior leaders work together to develop a long-term vision for Kenya. The president said his predecessor had an option to remain as a statesman, but has opted to oppose his administration. Take a look.
President William Ruto now says he sought former President Uhuru Kenyatta's support to be part of the new vision for Kenya, but turned down his offer.
He's the chairperson of Azimio up to now. This is the chairperson of party leader of, and he's busy with this, what you people wrote. He's busy organizing the opposition against me.
The head of state further noted that his predecessor had an option to remain a statesman, but has opted to be in the opposition against the current administration.
My predecessor had an option, to become a statesman and rise above politics and, become a unifying, factor in a country. But he chose to climb down and become an opposition leader.
Ruto said he was reluctant to work with leaders who believe in ethnic bigotry, noting that the impeachment of his former deputy was a constitutional exercise done by members of parliament.
Demeaning other Kenyans, dividing people into cousins, traitors, and enemies, and all that kind of thing. Calling women leaders unprintable names. I am sure Kenyans are asking themselves, no wonder he was impeached.
The president urged his opponents in the opposition to bring forth their agenda and stop backward politics of name-calling.
And in other news, a section of elders drawn from Samburu, Isiolo, Marsabit and Laikipia counties gathered at Lake Kisima in Samburu County in a meeting meant to find a lasting solution to the insecurity witnessed in the counties. The elders expressed regret over the number of people who have died, while hundreds are displaced by banditry and wars among pastoral communities.
At Lake Kisima in Samburu County, in performing the traditional Maasai chant, a connection to tradition and spirit. But these chants are peculiar. This is not an
Ukiona Samburu Council of Elders wanakuja hapa, wanaamini ya kwamba kile watapitisha, kile wanaongea, wako na Mungu hapa. Kwa hivyo I just want to say this is a sacred lake ambayo Wasamburu wanaamini.
The elders are here to talk to each other and probably communities to at least find a lasting solution to endless conflicts and banditry long associated with Samburu, Marsabit and Laikipia counties.
Na watu wengi sana wamepoteza maisha. Hiyo ndio kitu tunasikia mbaya sana. Vijana wetu wengi, utakuta hata familia moja walikuwa na vijana kama 7, sasa hii hakuna mtu ako. Watu wameisha. Na hatuoni huko mbele hii shida itaisha lini.
Shida gani imefanya sisi wasee kushindwa na kazi yetu ya wasee tangu? Na tunawezaje kurekebisha haya maneno ndiposa tuweze kupata ukweli na uongozi wa wasee katika Samburu katika kaunti ya Samburu.
Hundreds of families in the said counties have no decent place to lay their heads after being displaced.
Amani inamaanisha mchanga zetu, mali zetu na watu wetu. Tumekuwa na mzuko aina yoyote na majirani zetu. Mfano area hiyo Poro, watu yetu wanabeba title mfukoni na tumekaa kama marefugee.
The elders are appealing for the government's intervention to restore peace and harmony among pastoral communities.
Tumeandikia county government, lakini hata tunataka tu tusaidiwe hata na national government, lakini hawajakataa. Upande ya DC walikuwa wametuita mara mingi, lakini tunataka tuwe pamoja, tushirikiane ili tupate uwezo ya kufika mahala hizo.
Calls for peace, unity and tranquility. That report from Samburu County takes us to our second break. But when we come back, we'll be making sense of business. And as mentioned earlier on, we'll be looking at smart home, cyber security and also physical security. Bear with me that we are witnessing the evolution of matter security, from smart cards to just open doors to CCTV cameras, away from the only padlock that we grew up locking our homes with. I'll be engaging Irene Opondo, who is the head sales and marketing SGA Security. That is a discussion that you do not want to miss. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to the newest fashion trends, here is tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get time. All that on Grapevine every single month. And a rerun from 2 p.m. only Channel 1. Remember, if you not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never.
Hebu fikirie environment kama hii hapa Western Kenya. Eti mtu atatoka hapa aende Nairobi kusoma university to conquer the world. Mimi Andrew nitahakikisha hiyo ndoto imezimwa. Tazama hayo yote kwa Gundu KBC Tuesday to Thursday 7:30 p.m. Leo sio kesho.
Welcome back. Many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Just before we move or we cross over to business, small-scale cross-border traders across the East African community countries have been urged to exercise patience as efforts to address trade barriers affecting their businesses intensify. Speaking at Busia and Malaba border points, the National Assembly Committee on Regional Integration urged traders to report on their challenges, including disparities in trade laws among EAC member states, non-tariff barriers, taxation issues, and security concerns. The legislators noted the collaboration, once implemented, will improve cross-border trade, reduce delays, and create a more conducive trading environment for small-scale businesses operating within the East African community.
We have the non-trade barriers that we do have amongst the different countries. So we will check against that, find out what the challenges are, and see what interventions we can do as a legislation, and also have an engagement with the executive side, because they are the implementers on what exactly can be done to ensure that these barriers and the complaints that people have can actually be gotten rid of. The intention of EAC is that the trade between the East African countries actually does work, because we trade a lot within East Africa than we do as a country, especially Kenya, with any other country in the world.
National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi is now accusing Linda Mwananchi leaders of retrogressive politics over the recent Homa Bay violence. Mbadi, who was accompanied by Kapseret MP Oscar Sudis during a prayer service at Tonga Catholic Church in Suba South, blamed Linda Mwananchi for inciting the Homa Bay residents. He urged area residents who support President Ruto's re-election to ignore leaders advocating for violence. He, however, said the current administration has chosen to develop every part of the country equally.
Na Wajaluo, wachana na watu wameteseka mwaka mingi, wachana watu wa Suba wameona maneno mingi. Tafadhali wewe enda opposition peke yako, wacha watu waingie kwa serikali. After 2032, vile huyu baadhi amesema, tutawaunga mkono pia nyinyi kwa sababu nyinyi mmehangaika sana.
First, this team, before they come, they are already giving us warning that we are coming. Na mkicheza tutawapiga. Lakini vile nimeamua sitasimama kama governor, hakuna wasiwasi hapa Homa Bay. Na tutahakikisha kura ya Homa Bay yote imeingia kwa debe ya William Samoei Ruto.
Very well, time to make sense of shillings and cents in business, and some good news for farmers, where the government has reduced the price of a 50-kilogram bag of subsidized fertilizer to 2,000 shillings and halved the cost of certified maize seed, cutting inputs cost for farmers. The measure comes after depressed rains in the breadbasket regions that is projected to reduce overall maize production in Kenya by at least 30%. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says the latest decision is aimed at supporting farmers recover and boost maize production. Delegation led by Dr. Paul Rono and seed farms in parts of Western Kenya to assess severe crop failure dry spell. Dr. Rono projected the maize production in Kenya to be lower by at least 30%, even as scientists were depressed the damage. And now the government has moved to cushion farmers by announcing a reduction in subsidized fertilizer and maize seed to empower farmers prepare for the short rain season to recoup some of the losses or the next planting season. Under the new pricing, the cost of the subsidized fertilizer reduced by 20% to 2,000 shillings for a 50-kilo bag. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says the government plans to spend 6 billion shillings on subsidizing 40 million kilos of maize seeds. He says the government will complement the farm input subsidies with enhanced investments in irrigation, water harvesting, and to shield farmers from increased weather patterns.
Idadi ya watu wa nyingi ya juu, lakini mashamba tumeona ya kwamba tukiendelea vile tulivyo bila maji, bila irrigation, ni kusema ya kwamba we will not be able to feed the population of Kenya.
Sun Mobility has launched its open architecture battery swapping ecosystem, positioning Kenya as the base for its wider expansion in Africa as demand rises for cleaner and affordable transport solutions. Sun Mobility co-founder Ajay Goyal says its technology is up to 35% compared with petrol vehicles for riders traveling 150 kilometers daily, while allowing multiple vehicle manufacturers to integrate electric motorcycles, scooters, passenger tuk-tuks and cargo three-wheelers onto a shared platform. With 35 swapping stations already established in Nairobi and Mombasa, Goyal says the battery swapping ecosystem will accelerate adoption by reducing infrastructure barriers for manufacturers. Moving on, only 6 countries are at an advanced stage of completing their county aggregation and industrial parks that are expected to enhance value addition of agricultural produce. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki is urging devolved units to prioritize development of the county aggregation and industrial parks.
The county aggregation and industrial parks are aimed at promoting agro-processing and value addition across the country. Under the program, facilities are being established to support the aggregation, storage, processing and marketing of agricultural produce closer to production areas.
KBC are the first step towards industrialization. If we want to create an industrial nation, KBC are the beginning, the baby step. Aggregation, value addition is the baby step towards creating an industrial nation in a generation.
The national government has disbursed 4.1 billion shillings for the county aggregation and industrial parks.
And we now want to move towards operationalization of KBC. We want to see value addition, aggregation. We want to see processing. We want to see job creation. We want now to start discussing uptake of spaces in the KBC so that we can develop that very important infrastructure.
Kindiki made the remarks during the 30th ordinary session of the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council (IBEC) in Nairobi. Alan Auko, Lunchtime News.
In other news, African countries are racing to harmonize product standards and certification requirements to boost trade. Standards bodies from African countries meeting in Mombasa say a single certification system, would help businesses avoid repeated testing of products at borders, reducing cost and opening up new markets.
Business looking to expand beyond its home market, meeting different standards and certification requirements is costly and time-consuming. Now, standards bodies drawn from Africa are pushing for a common system where a product certified in one country is accepted in another without being retested.
One certificate working for you. What this means is that as Africa, we cannot be disjointed. We need to have standards which are harmonized. We need to ensure that once a certificate is issued in one country, then the products can be able to close over the borders without having to be retested again.
They say 2,700 standards have already been harmonized. However, these cover only 28% of the tariff lines.
We have other 10 countries that are in the pipeline, 19 countries out of 54 countries at the continental level, but we are moving closer. Yeah, if you look at when we started this process, which is just this year, at 19 countries that I can say we are doing well.
As champions, we're encouraging them to participate in the development of ASO standards, in the harmonization of ASO standards through the technical committees. And in addition to that, it's not only having these standards harmonized, but we want to encourage all member states as ASO champions to adopt these standards. Apart from adopting these standards, that means they have to apply these standards in their respective countries.
Njue for Lunchtime News, Mombasa.
Very well, that report by my colleague Trevor takes us to our interactive segment where I had mentioned earlier on we'll be looking at smart home, cyber security and also physical security. Now, smart homes are quickly moving from luxury to mainstream. We've seen the issues of CCTV cameras. We've seen smart locks. We've also seen things like devices that you can monitor your home from anywhere. But as we talk about technology and as we advance on technology, there are also challenges that come with that technology. But before we look at the challenges, allow me to introduce my panelist, who is Irene Opondo, who is the head sales and marketing at SGA Security Kenya. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
When I was preparing for this, it's good to also put into context. We're talking about homes, now we're talking about smart homes. For the purposes of this interview, when you talk about a smart home, what are we talking about?
Well, good question. In context of this session.
Yes.
When you talk about smart homes, essentially what you're talking about are the typical homes that have since adopted use of technology to automate processes and workflows that initially were done through manual interventions. So we are looking at homes that have adopted use of technology to just run the normal processes that ideally you'd be doing by yourself. For instance, switching on of lights, you know, commanding, setting schedules such as watering of your plants, controlling access, for instance, remotely. So smart homes actually use internet, data, Wi-Fi to connect systems. So smart homes are about connectivity. They're about adoption of recent technologies to automate home processes that were otherwise being done manually. Yeah, so ideally that's what smart homes actually are.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier on that nowadays, growing up, you only knew of a padlock. Now you even have cards. You can, you can just command, you can send a prompt and something happens. You enter into a room and the lights, switch on automatically, and then when you leave, it becomes dark again. Why is the rise in the adoption of these smart technologies, especially when it comes to security?
Okay. So one, security is a very fundamental aspect of our day-to-day lives. Security is actually very core. It gives you, security would give you peace of mind. Lack of it would be the contrary. You would be having unrest and all of that. So technology has infiltrated every single space. Ideally, technology is supposed to make work easier. Technology is supposed to give us convenience. It's supposed to give us accuracy, comfort, real-time alerts, for instance. So today, most homes are adapting into smart homes. Why? Because when you look at the dynamism, when you look at the patterns, when you look at where the world is headed, Internet of Things is ensuring that systems connect. Homes are not left out because homes are a very core function of our being. So people are gradually transitioning to smart homes because people like comfort, people like to feel safe, people like to feel secure, people like to have effortless processes. The lesser the effort, the better. For security, for instance, accuracy, stability, the assurance. So technology is actually infiltrating and people are taking advantage of the technological advancements. So most people, even within the home setups, do not want to get left out of these advantages that technology then brings into the home setup.
Let's go to the private sector. Which are some of these security ideas that we have, and more or less, like when you talk about SGA security, which are some of these smart security options that you have?
So let's look at the home setup, for instance. So for starters, there's need to be able to understand the security setups to be able to come up with the best security solution that talks to that particular setup. But looking at the wide array of solutions that we have today, it would be all the way from gate automation. When your visitor comes in, you have the video audio security solution where you can see who the guest is, determine whether or not you want to grant access. If you want to grant access from a centralized position, you'd go to a mobile app, grant access, the gate would then automatically open, they would come in, you can still grant access even to the doors. You have surveillance cameras that can be able, through those cameras, you can be able to see what happens in your homes when you're around and when you're on travel. You have the alarm response systems. You can use those to actually arm your homes when you're away. This would be able to give you alerts, would be able to give you triggers, would be able to actually give you real-time situations of your setup, whether you're in there or away. So I think technology is very vast, and when you want to keep it smart home, you then look at a centralized system, a solution that's been put in place, contrary to the traditional way of selling standalone devices, but a solution that's well thought, that talks to specific needs of specific ecosystems, like for instance, homes. So there are a wide array of those, so to speak.
Let's look at the vulnerabilities. We did say that a couple of weeks, or it's a month ago, we even had the State House website had been hacked, just to show you the level of vulnerabilities that we have, and that comes with technology. So how do we circumvent, or do we bypass these challenges when we have, maybe we have installed any smart security solutions in our homes?
Good question. So when you talk about technology, you go further ahead to talk about smart home. solutions or smart homes, then internet becomes a key function. Data becomes a key function. Now, you've talked about something that touches on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity ideally is protection of the digital layer. Physical security, on the contrary, is protection of the physical assets, the actual physical assets that you have within your home. Now, smart homes essentially sit in between these two. So, if we don't, for instance, ensure that the systems are well installed, they are well configured. Actually, when you talk about cybersecurity, let's even lean on the configurations. Are the systems properly configured? Are the Wi-Fi's protected? Are the passwords strong enough? Because having a security system installed in your house is good enough. But then again, it may give you vulnerability if the configurations are not properly done, if your Wi-Fi's are not protected. So I think there are other deeper measures that we need to take in play to ensure that the systems we have implemented in our houses, the systems that make our homes smart, actually work for us. They're effective and efficient, and they are well protected. Look at the passwords, look at the Wi-Fi configuration, the Wi-Fi protections, and look at the configuration. How is the configuration done? For instance, is it a camera that someone else would be able to access passwords and be able to have visibility of your home? So if that's the case, then it becomes a very unsafe system to have in play.
And before buying any smart security system today, and I want your advice, assume now I'm one of your clients, what are some of the things that I should be looking into, including the cost?
Okay. Normally, I advise, so I'd go on to the cost first. Security experts will advise that you tap into value when it comes to security solutions, because you would probably buy cheap and buy risks. So you tap into the value. Of course, budgetary constraints are things to consider, but we usually advise our prospective customers. We would advise even the larger nation to always look into the value. So some of the questions that would be put in play when you want to go for a security solution, for instance, would be one, understanding your ecosystem. So ensuring that you have understood the vulnerability, the risks. Once that is done, then also understanding, asking questions that, okay, what are my risks too? Now that I have a proper understanding of my risks, what is the most sound solution? Yeah? What systems do we put in play to come up with a comprehensive solution, as opposed to the traditional way of selling a camera, for instance? What are the different systems that we are going to put in play to have a wholesome system or a wholesome solution? Once that is done, then you identify the right partner. That is where an entity like SG Security would come in. Identify the right partner who would then be able to do the installations correct, ensure the configurations are done well, ensure the monitoring comes in play, and ensure the system is protected. Ask questions like, what then happens when the system fails? Yeah? What is the level of support that I'm going to get when the system fails? What happens, for instance, if it's an intrusion system and it triggers? Because you have the entire security solution in play. However, you now need the human intervention. This is where the response comes in, ties closely with the monitoring. So those are the questions that one should ideally ask. Yeah, before you invest in a proper security solution.
Allow me to give you 10 seconds for your closing remarks. Unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Okay, thank you very much. So for my closing remarks, and this would be to my viewers, I would wish to emphasize that security is actually a very fundamental, it's a core function of our being. Smart homes are the way to go. Please take effort to work with proper partners who actually understand. I want to take a second to actually refer to SGA Security, which is an established entity that understands and positions security as a holistic solution. Having done your assessment and giving you a sound solution that would then be talking to your actual needs. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I have been speaking to Irene Opondo, who is the Sales and Marketing Manager at SGA Security. We have been looking at smart security, and the biggest question that is on everybody's mind, what we do when it comes to challenges that are coming with the internet, challenges that are coming with new technology. I think this is a discussion that we need to really open up in regards to how we keep our homes and our loved ones safe. Moving on, Justin Ngera and Miriam Mwakitawa held on to their leads in the final round to emerge the overall boy and girl winners, respectively, at the third NCBA Western Junior Open held at the Kakamega Sports Ground. Ngera of VetLab Sports Club produced a consistent performance in the boys' competition, carding rounds of 78, 71 and 76 for a 3-round of 225.
Opening round and strengthened his position with a 1 under par 71 in round 2. The 15-year-old held his nerve in the final round to reclaim his victory earned him 105 Junior Golf Foundation Order of Merit points. Ngera finished ahead of fellow Miles Wahome, who carried 85 for 239 plus 23, while Peter Gadhogo of Nakuru Golf Club finished third on 243 plus 27 after rounds of 77, 80 and 86. In the girls competition, Mariam Mwakitawa of Sigona Golf Club also held on the overall girls title. Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
Cabras Sugar avenged their recent defeats by KCB Rugby with a hard-fought 15-5 victory in the 2026 Driftwood Sevens finals at Mombasa Sports Club on Sunday. The victory saw Cabras lift coming the bankers who had previous 2 meetings on the Sports Sevens circuit. The teams to the Embu Sevens, the 5th circuit leg set for September 5th. For the season concludes in Nairobi on September 12th and Now, Football Kenya Federation President Hussein Mohamed says plans are underway to transform Babadogo grounds into a modern sports complex to boost grassroots talent development. Speaking during the Babadogo Sports Extravaganza, Mohamed said the FKF and the local community are committed to upgrading the facility now known as the Austin Odhiambo Sports Complex. He also welcomed the government's construction of modern stadiums under the Beyond Vision 2030 program, saying improved infrastructure must be supported by well-structured leagues and competitions to nurture Kenya's sporting talent. Very well, that's all we had for this Monday afternoon lunchtime edition. Thank you so much for making time on behalf of everyone who's made this broadcast a success. My name is Njue. My colleague on the sign language interpretation has been Caro Njoroge. For more of these news items, kindly check out our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, and all our social media spaces. Many thanks. I'm out. Good afternoon.
Wewe ni inakosombwaga ane wewe ndio babaji cash pora. Kijana, unajua hii suti yangu osho wapi? Hisi si suti chipu ndio nataka kutuletea hapa. Kama ungenikuta wakati nilikuwa jeshi wewe, hata mimi niko jeshi. Jeshi gani? Jeshi la wokovu. Ngolisha kati.
Wacha kunikalimbia hii blobati.
Mimi ndio nimewaita. Pole, nimekuwa kidogo.
Akimi natafuta tu kazi.
The wait. KBC iko Huduma Center. Kupata huduma za KBC digital guidance and signet services to booking of commercial adverts and documentaries. Visit our dedicated desks at Huduma Center GPO, Times Square, Makadara. easily. Tunakungoja hapo. Whether it's a casual announcement or a specialized media solution for your business, we are here to serve you. KBC at Huduma Centers, moving closer to you. Your service.
Or is there is a question of mind itself. Looking to the stars each night and wondering what's maybe out there. Today, we know of thousands of recently discovered planets called exoplanets. They're outside of our own solar system, orbiting around their own suns. Do any of these planets support life? And how old is the universe, and how did it all begin? NASA is working on addressing these questions and many more with a variety of spacecraft, telescopes, and brilliant minds.
I'm Serafina Nance, an astrophysicist with VOA Tech, and in this episode, we'll look at the newly released deep space images from the James Webb Space Telescope 1 million miles away from Earth.
These historic and never-before-seen photos studied by astronomers around the world. With these images, questions about our universe and its origins are starting to come into focus.
Confronting the world's challenges with cutting medical breakthroughs and high-tech. These are the stories of our planet. This is VOA Tech.
T-minus 10, go for main engine start. We are go for main engine start, T-minus 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery with the Hubble Space Telescope, our window on the universe.
Standing by for SRB separation.
The successful launch of the Hubble telescope into space on April 24th, 1990. 3 decades later, Hubble continues to be an important space observatory and vital scientific research tool for astronomers. It's located 547 kilometers, or about 340 miles above the Earth, and orbits our planet once every 95 minutes. To date, Hubble has delivered almost 2 million observations, its images deepening humankind's knowledge of the universe.
Dr. Jennifer Weissman is the senior project scientist of NASA's Hubble Space Telescope mission.
The biggest discovery over time that Hubble has made is that our universe as a whole is changing. We can use Hubble like a time machine. You know, everything we look at, we're seeing it as it began its journey to us. So when we look at other galaxies outside of our Milky Way, we're looking at them as they were millions of years ago, and sometimes for the most distant ones, billions of years ago. We think the universe is about 13.8 billion years old, and we're seeing galaxies from within that first 0.8 of the 13.8 billion year history of the universe. We've even used Hubble in collaboration with telescopes on the ground to realize that